Section 4.7, Drawing Circle Graphs. So we've got a circle graph here now, and we're given the percent. Now if we were to draw that on our own, we can't just draw 10%, we got to know exactly what 10% of this circle actually is. But remember, a circle is made up of 360 degrees. So if I were to take a protractor, and I got two of them put together here, and I go ahead and I measure it, starting right here. This is 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, so I'm going to start and end on this line. And if I go all the way back, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, this is 90. I go all the way, this is 180, and then I keep going, and I will eventually get to 360 when I get back to this one right here. So a whole circle is made up of 360 degrees. Okay, so this is a 90, this other one here is a 90, this is a 90, and this is a 90 as well. So it's made up of 360 degrees in total. When we go down here, if we know the percent, all we got to do is multiply the percent times 360 degrees. So for example, 25%, or if I were to show it, would be this much right here. Okay, this is 1/4 or 25%. We know it's going to be 90. Okay, but let's calculate just to make sure. So 25% written as a decimal, times it by 360, and that will equal 90 degrees. Okay? So if we were giving, let me see, 36%, and we wanted to write that as a certain amount of degrees, we'd go 0.36 times 360, and when we work that out, let's see what we get. So 0.36 times 360 degrees, that makes up the entire circle. And we need our angle to be 129.6 degrees. So it's about 130 degrees. So 130 degrees, and we'll say about. We're going to round it off. Okay. So when we're looking at drawing it, let's take this example here. John spent 40% of his allowance on Monday. He spent 20% on Tuesday, 30% on Wednesday. How much did he have left for the rest of the week? And we need to make a circle graph. There's 3 steps. Step 1, calculate the degrees for each percent. That's what we were doing. Take the percent and multiply it by 360 degrees. The next step, make the angle, and then finally label your angle on that graph. So let's do that with this one. So step 1, calculate degrees for each percent. So let's take 40%. So 40% is 0.40, and then we got to times it by 360. And let's see what that works out on the calculator. So 0.40 times 360, and 144 degrees. Let's work out the next one. The next one was 20%. So 20% is 0.20 times 360 degrees. Now, if you're really smart, you know 20% is half of 40%. So you could just take half of 144, which will give you 77. But I'm going to work it out here and just to show you. So 0.20 times 360 degrees equals 72. Oh, there you go, 72. So I was wrong. Good thing I checked. So the answer is 72 degrees. See, never hurts to check. The last one that it's asking for is 30%. So let's take 30%, change it to 0.30, and times it by 360. See what we get. So 0.30 times 360 is 108 degrees. So now we've got 108 degrees. The only thing left to do is to draw our circle. So let's take a circle. First thing I do is put a dot right there so I know where I'm starting. So let's draw a circle right here. It doesn't really matter how big it is. Okay, just make it whatever size you want. Usually just medium size should do. Okay, and I'm going to start by putting a line right from the middle to there. So there's my starting line right there. So the first thing it asks me to do is 40%, which is 144 degrees. So I'm going to need a protractor in order to draw this. Without a protractor, it's not going to be easy. So take your protractor, put it right on the line, just like when you made an angle before in the previous unit. So 0 is there, and I need to go to 144 degrees, which, if I count up, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, all the way up to 140, 141, 142, 130, 144 is about right there. So now all I've got to do is draw my line from there right to there. And this angle right here should be 144 degrees, or, as we calculated, 40%. So I could shade him in and write 40% for this one. Now when I need to calculate my other angles, I need 20%, which is 72 degrees. I'll just take my protractor. I'm going to have to rotate him a bit in order to get him to line up. You can turn your paper around so that your line starts right there. Put that on that, and I'm starting right there. There's my 0 right here, line. Now mine's upside down a little bit, but I'm starting here with 0, and I'm going to need 72 degrees. So I start at 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 71, 72 is about right there. A little dot there. Move it out of the way. And now all I've got to do is draw my line from the center again to right where my dot is. And that should be 20%. And of course it does look like it's half of this. And I'd shade it in whatever color I want. The final one to do is start with this being my 0 line again. Line it right up there on the center. Rotate. You can either rotate your paper or move your compass so that it lines up right on the 0. And then I need, let's see, 108 degrees. So I will start measuring 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 90, 100, and I need 108. So there's about right there is 108 degrees. Now I just have to draw my line from there to there. And this part here should be 108 degrees, or 30%. So this angle is 108 degrees, which is 30% of my angle. Now the only thing I got left to do, this here, if I add them up, 40, 20, and 30, if I add these three up, it adds me up to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 90%. Now you know it all got equal 100%. So let's measure. There should be about 10% left for this. And of course, if we put it there and measure and rotate it around so that it starts off on one of them, I should get 10% left. So I could calculate 10%. Okay, but if I calculate 10%, it's going to be about 36 degrees. And sure enough, if I look up here, this is 36 degrees, so I know I'm done correctly. So this is 10%. So that's how you calculate any kind of a graph and how you draw them. Just make sure you follow the same steps.